Hi, and welcome to Objection Handling with Chris James and Closers.com. At the end of this lesson, you'll understand the customer mindset and you start a cold call. You'll be able to identify when you're applying pressure or no pressure to the customer. You'll understand the tactics used when handling objections, and you'll be able to deal with the most common objections. Chorus AI analyzed over 85,000 sales rep responses to objections raised by prospects across the sales cycle using their conversation intelligence platform. They used the trends from this research to identify what top reps do differently when it comes to handling objections. They found a faster response is a sign of a pre-existing knowledge and having dealt with the objection beforehand. Also, it's a sign of confidence. In 80% of cases, top reps took about 32 seconds before asking a question to dig deeper into the objection. They spent about half a minute responding to the objection before asking the prospect for more information. They also found, of all the objections raised by prospects, the top three were related to pricing and budget, trying, using, preferring a competitor, and timing and priorities. These are the objections you need to deal with effectively. They also found that top reps speak at roughly the same rate, that's the number of words per minute, when responding to objections as the rest of their calls. This proves they still stay calm. They found that in 65% cases, top reps began their response by thanking the customer for being candid or by explaining how they understood or identified with their viewpoint. In 90% of cases where top reps sought out from other team members, they tagged a sales manager, leader, sales enablement, or product marketing. These people are able to best help reps counter objections. According to Connect and Sell Incorporated, which is a parallel assisted dialer that has analyzed millions of cold calls, the average connect rate for a cold call in 2022 was 5%. The connect rate is when 1. Someone answers, and 2. You're able to get through to the right person and not the gatekeeper. This means on average you need to make 20 calls to have one conversation with the right person. The connect rate may vary from industry and persona, as we've seen as low as 2 to 3% and as high as 15% with sales personas with some of their clients. Then there's the conversion rate from connect to meeting booking. For a really strong salesperson, this could be 20%, but typically is closer to 5%. This means for a good sales rep, it can take 100 calls to get one meeting. For a lower performer, it could take up to 400. Think for a moment. What is an objection? So what is an objection in sales? An objection is anything the prospect says or does that is an obstacle to continuing the call. It's a concern or a question raised by the buyer. It's opposition or resistance to information you want to give to the customer. We tend to get objections because they simply don't want to talk to you. There may be issues in their office that they take priority. Maybe the customer's taken too many calls that day. They switch off from your long, boring pitch. They weren't expecting your call. They are due to go into a meeting. People don't generally like change. Maybe they're just not in the right mood to take your call. Think for a moment. Why is objection handling in sales so important? Objection handling in sales is the process and techniques salespeople use to overcome the reasons buyers give not to progress a call or even a sale. The most common stalls and sales objections are no money, no time, not interested, all of which may be given just to get rid of a pesky salesperson, but none of them may be true. A stall is a reason not to do business now. An objection is a reason not to do business ever. Overcoming objections and alleviating your prospect's concern around your product or service are essential skills for your success. Sales stalls and objections are a natural part of the sales cycle, and they're a common roadblock for many sales reps and sales managers. In some cases, they're only a request for clarification on a point or a request for further information. It's your job to find out. Let's start thinking about you. You as a person and about the way you think. Okay, let's think about the company you work with. What do you think of them? Be honest. Most people say they really like working for that company. And this is known as the endowment effect. You like working here, you have a sense of ownership, and you'll protect the company. Right, take this scenario. Now imagine it's Saturday, just after payday. You've got a few extra pounds in your skyrocket. You're walking around your local clothes store, clothes market. You're just browsing, a rack of coats when you see a floor assistant walking your way. And he comes up to you and says, "Can I help you?" What do you say? See, most of you put a zone around you, a kind of red zone, a protective zone, and you say, "Oh, sorry, I'm just looking." "Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. I'm just looking." Now, so far you've told me that you really love your company and you don't really like being sold to. You're afraid they are going to try and talk you into buying. You can smell their commission breath when they're trying to talk to you. You know they have an ulterior motive, that they're putting their best interest in front of yours. And yet people buy things all the time without being persuaded. Guess what? The people you sell to are afraid of you. And our customers are very loyal to their brand. They love working there too. And they only want the best cost-effective and time-saving solution. But what happened if I was going to sell you the most brilliant coat with heated pads that only turn on when you reach a certain temperature? What you've done in the shop is discounted the importance of what the sales assistant was going to say to you, because in reality, you think you know better. We discount what is around us, and so do our customers. To understand better, we need to understand the customer's mindset. What is discounting? Objection handling. Understanding the customer's mindset. Think for a moment. What have you discounted as unimportant recently? Why did you discount it? Discounting is a mental process by which we observe the world around us and sit differently to how it actually is. We tend to play down the existence of problems that are all around us. Even when we see them, we tend to discount the significance of them, and so on. If you think about it, selling is about problem solving. So when you're calling a prospect, it's how they mentally adjust to the problems and challenges that you're trying to resolve. Then this discount is going to apply. Now, there are 4 levels to this, and it's really important that you understand this. This is not something that just applies to objection handling. This applies throughout the sales process and actually in your own life as well. When you're trying to influence people, whether that's on your own personal space or it's in the companies you work in, you're trying to get stuff done. Discounting the existence of a problem. The customer is thinking, "I don't have a problem. Why should I listen to this person?" We try to help a customer because we know that we've got something that can bring real value. It can really make a massive impact on that business, or maybe make an incremental improvement in terms of how they do things. But you get, "I'm busy, I'm too busy." So I ask you, are they aware of this problem and do they know there is help available? The customer is discounting the severity of the problem. The customer is thinking, "I don't need it. Why should I listen to this person?" Because let's be honest, if it's not on their radar screen, you're going to get resistance. The prospect is aware there's something out there probably that will help them, and they are thinking, "Why should I spend time on this? I'm too busy right now." Or, "Should we buy from you? Why is this better?" Think about your average prospect. They've got a list of problems on their radar screen every day they come to work. Now you're coming along and you want to talk about another one. Discounting the solvability of a problem. The customer is thinking, "I don't think it can. Why should I listen to this person?" Customer is likely to ask for demos or testimonials if you've got past the early stages. See, they want to see who else it works for because they're skeptical. You can give them all the evidence you want that you solve these problems for other people, but every prospect I've ever met sees the world from their perspective. They see the world as, should I say, the problem is unique. I've heard it many times. Maybe you have too. Here's a technique. When you're talking with a prospect and you haven't done your value demo or your 30-second commercial and they're looking for a demo, you say something like this. Let's pretend for a moment I've just given you the demo and it was clear in that demo how we're going to help solve problem 1, problem 2, problem 3, all those things we shared. What would happen next? The customer is discounting their own personal power to go and solve the problem. The customer is thinking, I don't think I'm allowed, so why should I listen to this person? They're concerned that the solution we can provide is above their pay grade and that it should only be discussed with C-level executives. You will see this in organizations as well, where people feel they're not senior enough, that they don't have enough decision-making authority. Or it could be that they'll say something like, I don't have the budget. You see, what this really means is I haven't got permission to do this, and it means I must go and ask. And really, do I want to do that? Is it significant enough? Our job is to figure out where they are in that process and to bring them through it so that they become aware of the problem. They see it as significant. They believe that it's solvable, and they see that it's going to have a personal difference to what they're doing. And you're part of that, because you're part of being able to deliver that solution to them. Objection handling. Pressure v no pressure. Think for a moment. When the prospect says no, or that they're not interested in what you are saying, is it a good idea to pressure them into another meeting or carrying on with the conversation? It's the end of the month. Your job is to book more sales. You're behind in your quota and you're really feeling the pressure. You pick up the phone to the prospect and give you the best opening line, and the prospect says, I can't talk right now. You caught me down the gym. What do you say? Responses fell into two buckets. Pressure. The salesperson tries to talk the customer into doing something, i.e. book a meeting. Or no pressure. The salesperson does not try to talk somebody into something. Out of these replies, what do you think is pressure and what do you think is no pressure? Sorry, you caught me at the gym. Hey, I know you're busy. I understand that you're in a meeting, you're at the gym. Is there a better time to connect you later this week so I can talk about your current contract and see if we can partner up again? What do you think? Pressure or no pressure? Sorry, I'm busy. I'm down at the gym. Hey, sounds like you're hard at work in the gym and that's a really important time for you. I was calling to see if I could have 30 seconds of your time, but understand I'm catching you at a bad time. Listen, I'll go ahead and send a calendar invite this afternoon so we can quickly meet. Does that work better for you? Pressure or no pressure? Well, you can probably tell the first two are pressure because it's about you. If I could have 30 seconds of your time. Pressure is when it's all about you, the I. How about this one? Sorry, I'm really busy. I'm down at the gym. Oh, how long's the wait for the treadmill? Pressure or no pressure? Hey, I'm really busy. About to go in the gym. Hey, that's bizarre. I'm about to go into the gym as well. Look, do you have 60 seconds between sets so I can tell you some of the new things that are happening here at ABC? Pressure or no pressure? It's pressure, so I can tell you. How about this one? Hey, I'm just about to go in the gym. Hey, you're not slipping leg day, are you? This is pressure or no pressure? Would this leave a memory? How about this one? Sorry, I'm just about to go in the gym. Oh, cool. Are you doing back and biceps or chest and triceps? What do you think, pressure or no pressure? What would the lasting impression be for the customer of this reply compared to a pressure reply? How about this one? Sorry, I'm just about to go to the gym. No worries. I know I'm calling you out of the blue. I thought you might be busy. Would it make sense to have 20 seconds of your time to tell you why I was calling? Pressure or no pressure? It's pressure. Tell you why I was calling, why I'm doing something. It's putting pressure on the customer. Is he more likely to remember something funny with less pressure or something intense where you're asking him to do something? Out of the 189 messages, what percentage do you think responded in a pressure-based way against the no pressure way? Well, pressure 82%, no pressure 18%. What does that say about salespeople? We like to put pressure on. What is causing this pressure though? Why are the majority of salespeople trying to talk people into conversation? The answer is commission breath. Sales commission breath is an expression used to describe a person who's hungry for a sale. They will say or do anything to get it. They need a commission so badly that prospects can smell it on their breath a mile away. Salespeople obviously have a vested interest in getting people to buy stuff. And of course, prospects have a vested interest in not necessarily buying stuff. When your intent is to sell by any means necessary, you behave in a way that feels shady. Maybe you follow up 7 times in 7 days, or you don't take no for an answer. Whenever prospects feel the push, they pull away. Same intent, same results. Talking people into things doesn't work. It's called a backfire effect. Changing minds doesn't get you very far. People dig their heels in even deeper because you're taking their freedom of choice away. They back away, they back away, they back away. So remember, detach from the outcome. When sellers persuade, customers resist. The more pressure you put on, the more they'll dig their heels in and prevent you from carrying on. If you don't try and fight, you could be open for a big win next time. Objection handling. Assessment for learning, part 1. Please select from one of the following. What is customer discounting? Is it A, asking the prospect if they want a discount? B, putting the price up so you can reduce it during negotiations? Or C, the mental process of playing down or ignoring what is happening about us, and it's done outside of awareness? Please select from 2 of the following. What are examples of customer discounting? A, discounting the existence of a problem. B, discounting the total cost of a problem. Or C, discounting the solvability of a problem. Please select 2 from the following. Which are examples of pressure replies? A, are you doing back and biceps or chest and triceps? B, I understand you are busy. I just need 27 seconds of your time. Or C, I'll go ahead and send a calendar invite this afternoon to quickly meet. Does that work better for you? Please select from 2 of the following. What are examples of no pressure replies? A, is it pizza day? B, I understand you're busy. I just need 27 seconds of your time. Or C, you're not skipping leg day, are you? Objection handling. Changing our mindset. So the approach you're going to learn is to develop trust and not to apply pressure. We're going to work at developing trust so you can gain more trust. You see, the truth behind every conversation you have with a customer is one of 2 things. Yes, I'd like to continue talking, or no, I don't want to talk at this time. So how are you going to handle the situation when the customer doesn't want to talk? Firstly, through changing your mindset. Your intent when you hear objections really matters. And secondly, I'm going to give you tools and examples that you can apply to be successful in handling objections. Whenever you hear an objection or urge to feel that it's your job to talk people into things, resist that urge to talk people into things. It's not your job to persuade. When you hear an objection, resist the urge to persuade. You must understand where the prospect is coming from so you can get more truth. Because when you're talking people into things, you're subconsciously saying, I'm right, you're wrong. People don't like being told they're wrong. That's the backfire effect, which I've already explained. You see, It's all about the salesperson and not the prospect. Now think for a moment. What is the traditional approach to this objection? I'm really busy. Think for a moment. What is the traditional approach to this objection? I'm really busy. The traditional approach is rebuttal. It's because you're busy that we need to talk. I only need 30 seconds of your time. It's all about the salesperson and not the prospect. Try this one. Try this one. Think for a moment. What is the traditional approach to this objection? Sorry, we don't have a budget. I totally understand. A few of my customers have gone through their budget quickly this year, and they're trying to get approval for additional budget. I just need 30 seconds to introduce you to our services. Once again, it's all about the salesperson and not the prospect. And not the prospect. You must detach from the outcome of the sale. It's not all about you and your quota. Detach from the outcome of the sale. Let go of expectations. Let go of assumptions and instead create an environment where prospects feel comfortable giving you truth. Or if they have a problem, they're open to discussing what you could potentially help them with. You see, detaching equals more truths. And more truths equals better conversations. And more better conversation means more money and less chasing. When you put trust before your transactions and you detach, you get more truths. The more truthful conversations you have, the more money you'll make and less time you'll spend chasing people, following up and hoping your deals in your pipeline are going to close. It's called verbal Aikido. Aikido translates to the way harmony of the spirit. It's an art that does not seek to meet violence with violence. We are calm and will build trust through conversations and not confrontations. Objection handling. Tactics. Tactic 1. A pause for the cause. This is for when you get any objection. The tactic here is to buy yourself a little thinking time and awareness of the tonality of the prospect. Pause and in a calm manner answer the question. Let's hear that in action. Is this a sales call? Then use a mirroring line. The second tactic is mirroring. Mirroring is a simple technique where you repeat the most critical piece of information with a slight uptone, as to say, tell me more. This builds rapport and shows that you're listening. You typically get more information. Repeating back the last two words that the prospect said. So the customer might say, there's cheaper tools on the market. And you would say, cheaper tools? The third tactic is labeling. Labeling is an educated guess about what the other person is feeling. It allows prospects to explain themselves better. If you mislabel, prospects will correct you. Labeling should be a different tone to mirroring. It should be a down tone. Calm, no agenda attached from the outcome, just trying to understand. Basically making people feel heard and understood, but in reality uncovering pain. So labeling is describing the underlying emotion that the other person is feeling. So it should start with, it sounds like, it seems like, it looks like, it feels like. Or you sound like, you seem like, you look like. So a good example would be, sounds like I caught you at the worst possible time. Let's put the first three together. Pause, mirror, label. The customer says, you caught me at a bad time. Pause for 2 seconds. 1, 2. Mirror. Bad time? But with a slight uptone, as if to say, tell me more. And sometimes you get more information, and when people feel heard, they're more likely to continue this conversation. Then you could use the down labeling diffuser. It sounds like I called you at the worst possible time. And they may say, well, it's not that bad, but yeah, what do you need? Or, yeah, it's a really bad time. Then you ask them an open question and bang, you're in a conversation. So customer, You caught me at a really bad time. Bad time? Yeah, I'm really busy at the moment. Sounds like I called you at the worst possible time. Hey, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Well, look, I'm just looking for 30 seconds of your time. Bang, you're in a conversation. Another great tactic is falling on a sword. I'm sorry, I do apologise. Falling on a sword is apologising to keep the conversation alive. Say the prospect says, "How'd you get my number?" And you can say, "I'm sorry for being a jerk. It sounds like my lead provider has got the wrong person." So what we're doing here is we're sort of leaning back and we're falling on a sword. The more confrontational energy that's coming at you, the more you just want to fall back on the sword and apologise and retreat. With this, you also add some humour, be playful. You could say, in your bio, it says here that you had chicken Kiev last night for dinner. Is that right? And what you find at most of the time when you do that, when you fall on the sword, is that people rescue you. And they'll say, "That's okay, don't worry about it. What do you need?" And again, it's about creating an opening, not trying to overcome someone with an objection in any way. Another great tactic is the elephant in the room, known as labeling negatives. The elephant in the room is proactively addressing a potential objection. It's calling out the elephant in the room. That is a negative thing the prospect is thinking. It's used as a permission opener. "You're going to hate me. This is a sales call." Or when the prospect has an underlying issue, something's not quite right. For example, a bad customer experience. So before the prospect dismisses your call, you say something like, "I'm sorry to hear about ABC," whatever the issue's been. Objection Handling. Assessment for Learning, Part 2. Please select from one of the following. What should you do first when a prospect sounds upset or angry? A. Reassure them that you're here to help. B. Tell them you totally understand how they feel. 3. Have a pause for the cause. Please select from one of the following. What is mirroring? A. Mirroring is repeating back the last 2 to 3 words that the prospect said, with a shift in tone to say, "Tell me more." B. Mirroring is repeating back the sentence that the prospect has just said to you. Please select 2 from the following. What are examples of labeling? A. Sounds like you're comparing us to someone else. B. This will only take 27 seconds. Or C. Seems like I caught you at the worst possible time. Please select from one of the following. What is falling on your sword? A. Apologising to keep the conversation alive. Or B. Answering the objection with fighting talk. Please select from one of the following. Proactively addressing a potential objection is known as A. Addressing the elephant in the room. B. Using the technique feel, felt, found. Objection handling. Instant and hostile objections. Think for a moment. What is an instant or hostile objection? And what's the difference between the two? It's important to understand the difference between a hostile objection and an instant objection. A hostile objection is when they're coming at you, with an angry sort of tone. Usually this is more of an emotional response to a pesky salesperson taking up precious time. When you hear this, the prospect is dismissive and probably did not listen to what was being said. They're hostile, rude and offensive. Instant is less confrontational. They say things like, "So I'm not interested. No, I'm just about to go into a meeting. Really busy, thought you were someone else. Call me a bad time. Can you call back later?" With a hostile objection, which is a confrontational phrase that's coming at you, normally loud and rude, there are 2 methods to deal with it. 1, leave with value. Something in the prospect's mind may be triggered next time you call, and that tactic is called the Columbo. And 2, diffuse the situation. Tactic, falling on your sword. Let's have a look at the Columbo. The best way to leave value and get off the phone without causing a bad experience is the Columbo. The Columbo is also known as the J. Douglas Edwards doorknob close if you come from the US. Columbo's a detective from the 1970s show. Peter Falk played a detective in a dirty old raincoat. Drove a rubbishy car, and if I remember, he had a stupidly long sausage dog. But he always solved the crime, but only in the last 5 minutes. The rest of the time, he was bumbling around like an idiot, and the thieves or killers thought, geez, I'm running circles around this guy. He's never going to catch me. And rather last minute, he's exiting the elaborately apportioned study, or the mansion front door, or the master bedroom, or wherever he's doing. He puts his hand on the doorknob and says, just one last thing before I go. And then he comes out with this cinched piece of evidence that convicts the villain. Just one thing before I go. Now, the Columbo is an upfront contract, or also known as a permission statement. So the customer allows you one sentence plus one question. The idea is to make the prospect think that you're about to walk out the door, and all they need to do is listen to your one question. The question you ask during this brief low period, though, should be one intended to keep the conversation alive. It should be your killer line. Now, what's going to be your killer line? Just one thing before I go.
Think for a moment. What is the customer thinking? Maybe the prospect is thinking, I don't want to talk to you now. Maybe they are discounting you. But hopefully the prospect might be thinking, I may have been too harsh. Was I rude? Was I too aggressive? The prospect will have time to reflect and may be a little more approachable next time as they know a little more about your value.
So let's have a look at a Columbo. The customer says, I'm too busy. Fall on your sword. I'm sorry. Just one thing before I go. If we could bring all the data into one place, say one pane of glass, clean it and build those reports, would it be fair if I could have another 30 seconds of your time? Now notice there are 4 parts to the Columbo. You fall on your sword. I'm sorry. You Columbo, just one thing before I go. You give the necessary value, and then you throw the potato back. Would it be fair? Would it be fair if I could have another 30 seconds of your time? Well, would it be fair?
I'm sorry, just one thing before I go. If I could help you gain an extra 10% effectiveness through a marketing budget, would it be fair to share 30 seconds of your time? Now it's your turn. Write down on a piece of paper your Columbo statement. What is the best value you can offer your customer? Think for a moment. How would you deal with this hostile objection? How did you get my number? Think for a moment. What is the customer thinking? The customer is probably thinking, I don't want a sales call. I'm too busy for this call right now. Not another sales call. Go away and annoy someone else.
How did you get my number? Now that's a very confrontational phrase that's coming at you. You've got to slow things down and be calm. Be very direct. Can you use a bit of humour maybe to diffuse the situation? How did you get my number? From a list my company provides. I see 2 numbers for you, a direct line and a mobile. It also says on your bio that you had chicken Kievs for dinner last night. Is that right?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this hostile objection? Customer picks up the phone, you introduce yourself, and you say who you're from, and the customer immediately says, I'm not interested. Think for a moment. What is the customer thinking? The customer is probably thinking, I don't have the time. Maybe you're not interesting, your tonality, the way you've introduced yourself. Maybe the customer's thinking, this isn't my job. Maybe they're feeling, I feel pressure and I want to end the call.
I'm not interested. Try falling on your sword and addressing the elephant in the room. Okay, I get it. I know you didn't ask me to call. Before we hang up, if it's not asking too much, is it that my timing's off, or is it just not a priority right now?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this instant objection? I'm about to go into a meeting. Think for a moment. What is the customer thinking? The customer is probably thinking, I don't have the time. I'm going into a meeting in 5 minutes. I don't need this now. I feel pressure and I want to end the call.
I'm about to go into a meeting. Try falling on your sword, then labeling. I'm sorry, sounds like I caught you at the worst possible time. I'm probably prying here, but it's because you're crazy busy. Is your value not really a priority right now? Or do you hate getting cold calls as much as I hate making them?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this instant objection? Send me an email. What answer did you give? How did you respond? Most salespeople do one of two things. 1. They send an email and a follow-up. 2. They try to overcome the objection by saying things like, sure, the email comes with me. Let's schedule some time next week to chat. Hey, how's Tuesday? My experience is that emails get buried, so it doesn't do either one of us any good. Let's schedule some time Thursday at 3 or 4 o'clock, the alternative close. What works best for you? Each of these statements destroys trust because prospects can smell your commission breath. The customer is probably thinking, I feel pressure and want to end the conversation. Or maybe they're thinking, I'd like to learn more. You see, objections carry one of two meanings. They're either true, the prospect is interested and wants additional information, or 2, they're not true. The prospect isn't interested and is asking for an email to get you off the phone because they don't want to hurt your feelings.
Send me an email. Try falling on your sword and mirroring. I'm sorry, an email? To make sure I don't do you a disservice by sending you an email that's not relevant, would it be okay if I asked you a couple of quick questions?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this instant objection? You caught me at a bad time. Can you call me back later? Think for a moment. What is the customer thinking?
You caught me at a bad time. Can you call me back later? Try mirror and labeling. Call back later? Seems like you might not really be interested, which is not a problem. When would be a better time?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this instant objection? Sorry, I'm really busy. Thought you were someone else.
Really busy. Thought you were someone else. Try falling on your sword and mirroring. I'm sorry, someone else? I'm never the call anyone is expecting. One of my rare talents is people thinking I'm someone else, which I technically am. Or you could try, were you expecting Brad Pitt, Taylor Swift? And then go with, would it be okay if I stole 30 seconds to tell you why I'm calling? Would you like to hang up?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this hostile objection? I've never heard of your company.
I've never heard of your company. Mirror, never heard of ABC? Well, I hadn't before I started here either, but it's a pretty cool place to work. Would it be okay if I stole 30 seconds to tell you why I'm calling? Or would you like to hang up?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this instant objection? Can you send some information?
Can you send some information? Fall on a sword. Yes, no problem. Would it make sense if I ask a few questions so I don't do you a disservice by sending you relevant information? Or you could try mirroring. Mirror, send some information. Maybe I'm misreading, but it sounds like this might not be a priority right now, which is perfectly okay. I know you didn't ask me to call.
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this instant or hostile objection? Is this a cold call?
Is this a sales call? Fall on your sword. It is. How am I doing? Or, it is. I'm nervous and my palms are sweaty. Can you tell? And then ask. You probably hate getting cold calls as much as I hate making them. Would it be okay if I stole 30 seconds to tell you why, based on my research, I'm calling? Or would you like to hang up?
Think for a moment. How would you deal with this instant objection? Hey, we're all set.
Hey, we're all set. Try falling on your sword. That's okay. How's it working with your current vendor? Or label? Sounds like you're happy with what you have. Would you be open to reviewing what your options are, just to see if there are opportunities beyond what you have now, to speed up reporting for multiple campaigns and have one pane of glass for your reports? Not for now, but just, so it's in your back pocket for the future. Is that something you'd be open to?
Objection handling. Real objections. Think for a moment. How would you deal with this hostile objection? Your price is too high. How did you respond to your price is too high? If someone says your price is too high, your inclination when you hear this is to start to justify why you're worth it. But this often backfires because prospects know that you're trying to justify to get the sale. They can almost smell your commission breath. They know you have a vested interest. Now, these signals send a powerful message to prospects that you're putting your needs in front of theirs. See, whenever prospects feel they're being talked into buying things, they enter the red zone of protecting themselves. And of course, so do you. So does everyone. The defense is a reflex reaction to persuasion. And of course, persuasion is perceived as a threat. Let's look at a poor example. I totally understand how you feel. One of our customers felt our price was also too high. But what they found is that we're the cheapest option on the market. Now, let's go over it again so I can show you why we are the cheapest on the market. Think for a moment. What is the customer thinking?
So what we want to do here is better understand where this objection is coming from. Not with the intent of trying to persuade people to move forward. Remember, it's not your job to talk people into things. So the prospect says the price is too high. What they might really mean is that they're comparing it to something they already have. It could also mean they don't want to pay for it all at once. And it could also mean they just think the price is too high. So you want to better understand what it means when someone says the price is too high.
So, think again. Why did they say the price is too high?
So let's have a look at the four most common reasons why the prospect says the price is too high. 1. They're not interested and use the price is too high to end the conversation. 2. They're comparing your price to what they have. 3. They're comparing your price to a competitor and don't perceive you as being different. 4. They just don't like your company. Maybe they've never heard of you. So let's take another approach. Instead of having a rebuttal, understand the reason why your prospect feels the price is too high.
Start with mirroring. Mirror with an uptone. I'm sorry, too high? What I'll do next is ask an alternative question, an A or B. I would say something like this. What is it about our price? It feels high. Is it the total price to paying for it all at once? Or maybe you're comparing this to other options, which is not a problem at all. So what we're doing is we're creating an opening to get more truth. What we're not doing is trying to justify in any way why our price is as high as it is. Or maybe I may label it. Sounds like price is your only concern. Some other labels I may use are, sounds like you have a reason for thinking our price is too high. Sounds like you're comparing us to someone else. Feels like there's a specific number you have in mind. Then I would move the conversation forward. Don't fight the resistance. Join the resistance. Verbal aikido.
Your price is too high. Try mirror and labeling. I'm sorry, too high? Sounds like price is your only concern. What is it about a price that feels high? Is it the total price? Paying for it all at once? Or maybe you're comparing this to another option, which is not a problem at all.
So think for a moment. How should you deal with this objection? There are cheaper deals in the market.
There are cheaper tools on the market. Mirror and label. Cheaper tools? Oh, we can be perceived as being expensive. Seems like you might value price over functionality, delivery, and quality.
Think for a moment. How should you deal with this objection? We want the lowest price.
We want the lowest price. Mirror label. Lowest price? Sounds like you're comparing us to someone else.
Think for a moment. How should you deal with this objection? I want to think it over.
I want to think it over. Mirror label. Think it over? Sounds like you have some hesitations. Where would you like to go from here? In summary, it's not your job to persuade or put pressure on the customer. It just has a backfire effect because they can smell your commission breath. Use the tactics I showed you. Pause for the cause, mirroring, labeling, falling on your sword, and of course the good old Columba. Now my advice to you is to write down your most common objections and learn how to diffuse them. Learn them off by heart. Keep practice, practice, practice. Now, my name's Chris James for closers.com. Thank you for participating in this lesson.
Objection Handling. Assessment for Learning, Part 3. Please select from one of the following. How do you handle the objection, I'm not interested? Is it A? How do you know you're not interested? I haven't even pitched you yet. Or B? I get it. I know you didn't ask me to call you. Before we hang up, if it's not asking too much, is it that my timing's off, or is it's just not a priority right now? Please select from one of the following. How do you handle the objection, I'm about to go into the meeting? A. No worries. When are you next free? Or B. I'm sorry. Sounds like I caught you at the worst possible time. Please select from one of the following. How do you handle the objection, I don't want to talk to you? A. I totally understand how you feel. A few of my clients felt that way, but what they found is we have a great solution for them. B. I'm sorry, just one thing before I go. Please select from one of the following. How do you handle the objection, your price is too high? Is it A? What? Compared to who? Or is it B? I'm sorry, too high? What is it about our price that feels too high? Is it the total price to paying for all at once? Or maybe you're comparing us to other options, which is not a problem at all. Please select from one of the following. How do you handle the objection, never heard of your company? A. Great, you'll be glad to know we have the best solution on the market. Or B. Never heard of our company? I hadn't before I started working here either.